welcome back to my channel. So grateful that you've taken a second and decided you want to try to see what the second one looks like. I really appreciate it. I realize your time is valuable, and it is my hope and attempt not to waste it. I did want to give you a tiny bit of an intro for what you're about to see, because in the early days I didn't really intro. I just started taping because I needed to get out. Sorry, I know it's loud. I will try to speak up over the giant jet flying over our house. Particular day I was not feeling well. There are days where I feel better than others. There's days where it all is kind of mixed together. Like I still have the tinnitus, I still have the fibromyalgia, I still have chronic fatigue, but I feel enough energy to be able to do some of the things I want to do. On this day, none of that was happening for a long time after I woke up, and it made me sad, and it made me more tired to feel that way. And so I just wanted to preface that that's what the lead-in is. And then, as you'll see, by about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I felt well enough that I got dressed. I tend to have more good days right now than I have bad. Part of that, I think, is being able to pour myself into this. I will not say that that's a recipe for anything. I'm never going to do anything, as I've said before, other than share my experiences. But that is what's happening, is something about this from an inflammation standpoint is helping bring, I'm sure it's the battle between my parasympathetic and my sympathetic nervous system is balancing out just by being able to share. And I'm so genuinely grateful for that. I do want to say that I'm also hyper aware of the fact that over the course of my 50 plus years, I have realized and been taught that what I intend may or may not be how it impacts someone. It is my genuine desire and hope that my intentions and the impact coincide, but that may or may not always be the case. So I also would ask for grace that I, like you, am a human. And as I am talking through some of this, some things, as my daughter Annie said when she was little, she said, "Mommy, sometimes just words just fall out of my mouth." And I went, I get that. I totally get that. As I am talking stream of consciousness to you all, sometimes things may just fall out of my mouth. And that I want to be responsible with. I do not want to be irresponsible, but I do just ask for your grace and your patience as I do this and learn more and refined more through this process. I also get that these first several videos, montages, are a lot of me, and that's not lost on me. It's just that, unless my family members are volunteering and I'm home so much, this is what you get. You get a lot of me. You're going to get a lot of the dogs too, because they don't mind, and I don't have to get their written permission to be able to film them and include that in these. But I am aware of it, and it is that thing that pushed me away from doing anything like this for years and years. And my sincere hope is that you find yourself in this somewhere, or that something I say blesses you in some way. That is, again, my intent is not to just fill up airspace, looking at myself, talking to myself. I feel like I'm actually talking to you. And I hope that that comes across, because that is what I feel inside. So all of those 3 disclaimers before you go into this first one, it's me and it's raw, and yeah, that's probably enough. I don't need to say more. You'll figure it out. You've been yourself in raw. You just haven't filmed it, maybe. Put it out there for the whole world to see. But this is where I am, and this has been very healing, so I'm going to keep doing it until the Lord says stop. Anyway, thanks so much, and I hope y'all are doing well. Love y'all. Bye. So today is one of those days that I don't enjoy. It is the type of day where I wake up after having not slept very well, couldn't go to sleep, insomnia. That just sometimes comes with the whole thing. Again, not talking about something deadly, just talking about something chronic fatigue, and the fibromyalgia specifically. I get all kinds of versions of it, but most often, allodynia. What fibromyalgia is, as I understand it, is that your brain sends signals to your nerve endings, unreliable signals, that it is either has been beaten up, or that in my case, often that my skin can feel like I've just burned it, particularly like scalding hot water, that feeling, which is really weird. And I thought I was going crazy when it was first happening. Thought I had some sort of weird dermatologist, as one would. And dermatologist said, nothing, it's not your skin, literally. We need to send you to a rheumatologist. Rheumatologist said, don't think it's exactly autoimmune, so we needed to send you to I think the next step was the neurologist. And in between that time, I am typically a researcher and came across the term allodynia. It described exactly what I was experiencing, and that it's not a very common form of fibromyalgia, but it is a form of fibromyalgia. And sure enough, the neurologist was like, yep, that's what you're dealing with. And I said, so kind of excitedly, like, so you have a lot of patients that you see with this? And he's like, no, not really, no. But it's a form of fibromyalgia, so that I know how to help you with symptomatically. And it is simply, I take medication to try to help my brain relax, interpret signals correctly. And for the most part, it's effective. The trouble is if I become stressed, and stress, as I'm sure you've heard before, your brain doesn't do a great job all the time of distinguishing between good stress and like fight or flight stress. So even like yesterday, good day, I was able to get up and get dressed up, because if I go out, I like to get dressed up, because there's so many days where it's harder for me to do that. Just getting here on Sunday morning is so hard, and because it's kind of an invisible thing, people have no idea, and they equate the word fatigue with being tired. And everybody knows what it feels like to be tired. You've worked really hard, and hence you're tired. Fatigue is like someone unplugs your life force, basically, and you don't have the energy to do anything. I mean, even think. That's what's so frustrating, because as I shared with my best friend recently, there was a season where it was one or the other. Either my body was too tired, but my brain could still do things. So I could sit at the computer and I could write, or I could dream of something that was like, okay, I'll bloom where I'm planted. I will lay here with this body that's struggling, but my brain will keep me going. Or on the other days where my brain was like, yo, we too have been tapped out, my body would be then going, hey, let's go clean out a closet, because today the body feels good enough to do that, and my brain can't focus, or it can't be creative, or it can't put down thoughts. So it would trade off. And that was the deal, quote unquote, air quote, the deal that I made with myself, is like, okay, we'll go back and forth. This current season I'm in, it seems to be a hard no on both. And as I sit here with, I did wash my face, so I have a clean face. I don't have a moisturized face. I did in between takes put on a little gloss, because my lips get really dry these days. I'm sure it's a product of either a side effect of medication or just part of the whole thing. My hair has thinned because of the stress and some of the medications and blah, 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 which is part of why I'm even attempting to do this. This wasn't how this started out. started out to be able to promote a business that I want to launch for helping people curate wardrobes, you know, one-on-one. And suddenly this is turning into more of, I feel I need, because I can't always go out and be with my girlfriends. They are amazing. I have wonderful friends, but sometimes because there's just, again, limitations to what my body will allow, being able to share this with an online community may be the best way to do that. And if this is the only way I get to connect, then this is the way I get to connect. So I will see you in a little while. Maybe I'll have makeup on. We'll see. Don't know. Maybe I'll change my clothes. Don't know. We'll see. So I actually put on clothes today. Ta-da! I wanted to do an outfit of the day, seeing as how this is a tough energy day, meaning getting my energy is taking a lot to get there today. And so my brain went to, you know what I want to wear? I want to wear my oversized 100% cotton shirt with jeans, probably the first jeans I've put on since the spring, because it is a little challenging, in my opinion, to wear jeans in Georgia anytime from May till October, honestly. I don't get overheated easily, but there's something about wearing jeans when it's hot and sticky, and it just makes me feel like I'm choking. This entire outfit, by the way, is brought to you by TJ Maxx or Marshalls, one of the two. And the jeans, absolutely favorite. They probably wouldn't, I mean, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. These probably would not have been in my budget if I had not found them at TJ Maxx and Marshalls, because they're Rag&Bone. The typical price point of Rag&Bone is what they like to call investment pieces, which just means they're a really high price point, sometimes $200 to $300 for these kind of jeans. That is not, I only paid double digits when I bought them, and that was because they were at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. So I usually, when you see me, I will either have sunglasses on my head, or I'm gonna have my readers on my head. And that's for two reasons. Biggest one, that way I don't lose them. And so if I put them on my head, I don't forget them. The other reason, when I wear these, what it makes me feel like is, it feels like I'm wearing a tiara. But everybody wants to feel like a queen or a princess, and this might be as close as I get, but on an everyday basis, for sure, this is as close as I'm gonna get. I believe this look is, from what I understand, supposedly 90s era inspired. Sure. I don't remember wearing these shoes in the 90s. I mean, there may have been a lot of people wearing these low profile tennis shoes, where who knows what I was wearing. I have no idea. I think I was wearing faux Keds at the time. Most likely. Canvas. Most likely. Anyway, if a tiny bit of budget can bring joy, comfort, a sense of confidence, then I think it's worth paying attention to. So there you go. Enjoy. Love y'all. Bye. Okay, thought I'd come back on while I have on makeup, while I'm still in clothes. Not that I'm ever going to come on without them, so let's just be clear, it's not that kind of sharing. Welcome to when you have something you want to say and then your brain just stops. That's the whole menopause. Yeah, well, this was not what I was going to share, but I'm going to share it right now anyway. And I think it is relevant, but you know, the whole world overshares at this moment, but I honestly don't think that this is oversharing. I think this is just a reality of like being transparent and sharing how I got to where I am with all of this, with the chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and that many of you know, who might be watching this, that Rob and I went through years and years of infertility, and we were incredibly blessed with two beautiful daughters that we adopted. And God knew. I mean, we've been, again, super, super blessed. But the reality that we realized years and years later is that in my early 30s, in fact, it was when I was preparing the adoption papers for our second daughter that I started experiencing these really strange symptoms that I'd never had before. I would get hot all of a sudden and sweat. And again, I'm in my early 30s, and not a soul that I knew anything about perimenopause. And it turns out that I was actually going through menopause, and by 39 was fully menopausal, because that's the official diagnosis, is if you have been without a cycle for an entire year. And I achieved that big mile marker at 38 or 39. And so by the time I was 40, blood work was coming back saying you are officially post-menopausal. So I was on that joyride while I was caring for my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old and my 78-year-old father, who had lived with us after his massive heart attack, and cared for him until he passed away. All that to say that I think that was just sort of the beginning of the descent of the decline of my adrenals, particularly because dealing with that change, the change of life, as they used to call it, is difficult enough when you're in your 50s. But when you're doing it and you're in the middle of that sandwich generation, and all of that came early for me as well, because my father was the age of most people's grandfather, just meaning that he was 18 years older than my mom. And so I'm caring for him in the last stages of his life. I'm caring for very young children that were, most of my friends had children, but we were delayed in getting children. And so it was just a funky window of that. And then find out I'm going through menopause at that time. The strain that took on my adrenals and the cortisol and just all the things, that was just a really messy soup internally inside my body. And from that point on, it made everything else that much more difficult. And there was just not the conversation out there that there is now on what that means for a woman. The reason I was even bringing all of that up is that the journey for this whole thing about fashion comes again through a year and 2 years, 3 years after my mom passed away. And several other very stressful things happened in our lives as a family. Because I went through menopause so early, my weight would go up and down and up and down depending on stress level. So sometimes it would go down because of stress, but more often than not, it would go up, and almost uncontrollably. It really didn't matter what I did. And that's confirmed not just in my head, but that was confirmed by a physician. He was like, you could not have gained weight because of what cortisol does to your body when you have so little to fight with or to balance it out. Even doing all of the, all of the healthy things and eating clean. And, I've done all the things, paleo, keto, and not just to lose weight, but to try to fight back against the rapid aging process that my body was hell-bent on going down because of the way that the hormonal process was just so sped up in my body. About a year and a half ago, when I had reached a point of the heaviest I'd ever been in my life, again, it was what it was. And I reached that stage of, you know what, I can keep looking in the mirror and thinking bad thoughts about, and even saying bad things about myself, shaming things about myself based on how I now look, or I can come to terms with it and make a decision like, these arms that I have, as large as they are, or as small as they are my arms, and I get to use them every day, and they're still functional, and they have carried metaphorically and physically, a whole lot of stuff. And I either get to make a decision at this point, I either start loving it or I keep going down this road of almost a self-loathing based on how disappointed I was in myself or how disappointed I was at the way I looked. And again, I knew what was causing it. I knew what I was doing right and what I was struggling with, but made some changes as I had done many times before. And then reached a point where I thought, you know what, if I never lose another pound, how am I going to feel about myself and my body? And I just decided to embrace it. And at the same time, Rob and I had the pleasure of being able to go over to the UK for, as he's working on his doctorate of ministry, and he was going to have 2 weeks to study at Oxford at the exact same time that it would be during our anniversary and my birthday of that year. And when we found that out, one of the things we wanted to do, because there would be a break in that 2-week window of being over there, that we could go and do something for our anniversary. And I graduated from college with a degree in English history, or a degree in English and a French minor and a history minor. So I had always wanted bucket list to go to France, particularly, obviously, like most of the people in the world who want to go to France, you want to go to Paris. And if you are near or around London, you can get there very quickly, 2.5-hour train ride over to Paris. And so that was the big deal, that I had something to look forward to, and I was doing everything I could within my own means to be healthy, eat healthy, all the things. But I was also in the stage of, you know what, if nothing physical changes on my body, that's okay. Like, I've just got to come to terms with it. And I was shopping for clothes at the time at the retailer that you may not be thinking of for clothing, but I would go into Costco, because Costco, you know, has some good deals, and was there and bought some shirts at Costco, not name brand. I know, like, now they carry some Banana Republic and Levi's and that kind of thing. It wasn't anything even name brand. These were just shirts that I thought, oh, I'm going to get these and I'm going to wear them to Paris. So I bring them home and I try them on for our youngest daughter, who is just yummy in and of her own self, but she's also a straight shooter, which I love. And she says to me, Mommy, yeah, no. She said, these are not Paris-worthy shirts. And she was 100% right. And it was the first time in a really long time, as I was battling my own self-image with my physical appearance, that I stopped and I thought to myself, what am I saying to myself and what am I saying to my daughter if she recognizes immediately that these are not Paris-worthy shirts? And I knew what she meant. She meant I deserve more. I deserve better. I need to find something that I felt pretty in. And I didn't feel pretty in those shirts. I just felt functional. Like, these are fine. These will serve their purpose. And as my brain tends to do, when something like that comes to my mind and I'm now pondering over it, I start researching. And I was researching the heck out of, what do people in Paris wear? What would be Paris-worthy? And it started me down a road of not only self-discovery, but discovering things that I think deep down I have had a love for, a passion for, because it's beautiful, that was dormant. That's probably the best way to say it. And since that time, I have spent countless hours researching all of it. I have a friend who I always was envious of, because she always knew what brand was in, she knew the names of these things. And I'm like, I have no idea. What is that? Who is, I don't know. And this has been such a journey of doing the research, finding myself in it. And what I found as I began to change how I dressed and basing it on some things I tried because I saw someone else doing it and thought, oh, maybe that's what I need to wear. And I'd put it on, or maybe I bought them and I'm like, oh, that's not really, I don't think that's going to be my thing. And to where I am now, that I have a sense of like, oh, this is what I really like. This is what makes me feel alive on the inside when I wear this. And the reason I know that it makes a difference is because of how I feel, obviously. But when I go out in public now, people stop me and say things about the way that I'm dressed. And that's not because I'm wearing things that other people can't afford. Trust me, as I've shared, these are all very budget friendly, very, very budget friendly. It's because of the way I'm wearing it. It's because of the way I'm styling it. It's because of the way I feel in it. It's because I am able to put on clothes and go, yeah, this is me. This is how I really, really feel at my core. And this is how I want to present myself to the rest of the world. And as a byproduct of that, my body shape began to change. My weight became manageable. And I did that through the help of a physician and medication and eating well and, all the things. But the reality was I couldn't exercise the way that you used to exercise, thinking, oh, I'll just go and do all the high adrenaline stuff because that's how you lose weight. It's like, no, that's how I hold on to weight now, because that tells my body I'm in some sort of fight or flight, and it's going to hold on. And my body is really kind. It likes to make sure that if we are in a famine, which it thinks we are, that it'll hold on to it. Having to convince it for quite a while that we're good, we're okay. You do not have to hold on to every ounce of fat to produce estrogen. I will get that from another source. Or to hold on to every ounce of fat so that I don't die in the winter here. It is not the Middle Ages. It's those kinds of things that my body does the very best that it can. It's just been through a lot. All of this to say that it was my sweet daughter who brought that to my attention. It started with just trying to figure out what is Paris worthy. And now it's a journey of, what do I like? What makes me feel good? And that went from, as per usual, if I'm feeling this way and I'm looking around and I'm talking to my friends and realizing, they feel this way. They feel uncomfortable in their own clothes. They don't feel confident. We're in a season of life where we should be really in our stride. We don't even know what makes us look good anymore because, one, fashion goes through its cycles really fast, and our bodies are kind of betraying us. Nothing we used to be able to count on, we can count on anymore on any level. And that's where I began to think, I think maybe I could be helpful in this. There's lots of things that I'm passionate about. And that's evident from the book I wrote, to the studies we've done, to my life in Christ. None of that's ever going to go away. It doesn't take a second seat to this, but this is something I can do where I am at this moment and maybe be helpful to other people. I think that helps me not only get out of bed, it's giving me a sense of purpose that is obtainable. And I love the concept of, the old Rick Warren purpose-driven life, and what is your calling and what is your gifting, and I know all that. I know what I'm called to do. I know what I'm gifted to do. At 56, I've been around enough, and some of the things I'm good at, I don't want to do anymore. I don't want to be a caretaker if I can help it, because I've burned out that light that was in me because so much was required. And not that I won't, but it's not what I want to do. And this is a season of life where I get to go what I want to do. And what am I good at, and what am I called to do, and what am I passionate about? And this feels like a mix of all of the above. And to know, I'm very excited about that and want to bring something, maybe not new to the table, but certainly bring whatever version that I have to bring to the table and share and see where it goes from there. We'll find out. So thank you for making it through this far of the video, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow and whatever tomorrow brings. Thanks. Love y'all. Bye. Stepped outside to attempt to film something out here. Someone is constructing something really important. Anyway, this poor thing, my sweet husband's bane of his existence right now is this pool that is, well, as he said, he's a farmer of green algae and didn't mean to be, didn't want to be, but it's quiet. Anyway, okay, I may try this. I was going to share, totally forgot what I was going to share. Yeah, I know, can't remember now. Doesn't matter. Somebody's calling in and